Hello Calculus student, this video is for chapter 3.2, the definition of derivative function. So in 3.1, we have a process of using limit to find the derivative at a point, which is, so it is right next to it, right next to the 3.2 notes here. F prime of A at a point, I will have two definitions, but both of them will give the tangent line slope. Both would be using limit. One is when I have a random point x getting closer to this point that we want, and we would just do f of x minus f of a over x minus a. Doing this limit, we'll find a number. That number is our tangent line slope. And we did an example earlier. And we can also use the a plus h minus f of a over h. Notice that a is the number that we want, so we can, if you want to do f prime of 3, because at x equal to 3, you want to find a tangent line, you would do it this way. You would do h approach 0. So what happened is, let's just look at the second definition of using limit to find tangent line. This a actually can be any point, right? We can plug in 2, we can do it in 3. If we can plug in any point, we can make it a function. So instead of naming that point a, now we generalize it and we use it as x. We use it as x. That means at any point, if I want to find a tangent line at any point x, I would have a point called f of x plus h minus f of x. This used to be a, but I just plug it in x divided by h. And when I would have, instead of a number, because x is any point, I would have a function. This function is called f prime of x. It's related to f, that's why we call it f prime, but it's actually in itself a function. If you plug in any number into this, you will get f prime of a, so it's much faster than, every time I have to do it. Tangent slope for x equal to 1, I do it 1 time, and when x equal to 2, I do it 2 times. At x equal to 3.5, I do it another limit. We will actually calculate a function so that when I plug in a into this f prime of x, I will find the slope of the tangent line, right? So this is just a more general form so that we can find, and whenever we want to find slope of the tangent line, we just use it. So that's the idea of f prime of x. Remember, f prime of x is another function. This function will be after we do the limit. And the way we find f prime of x using this is called limit definition. This is the real definition of what is a derivative function. It's called limit definition because we are using limit to find it. We are using limit to figure out what this function is. So whenever people say, can you find the derivative function? So on online homework, sometimes you will see this kind of question. And if they don't say anything, there is actually, starting from 3.3, there is a shortcut method that we use. We call it derivative rules or differentiation rule. That would allow us to skip the calculation of limit. But in terms of what is defined as f prime of x, this is called a limit definition of a derivative of x. And if f prime of a exists, then we say f is differentiable at x equal to a. And this process of finding the derivative is called differentiation. The process of differentiation. So every process of differentiation, it would involve a limit. So look at this first question. Use limit definition to find f prime of x. The original function is f of x 3x minus 5x squared plus 1. So what is the definition? So we would just say, okay, the definition is, by limit definition, is always h approach 0. We call it the difference quotient, x plus h. X is any point. I add a little bit. I subtract the point that we want over h. If you find the limit, calculate the limit, then you will have a new function. So let's try. So if you plug in substitution, it will be 0 over 0. So you need to do factoring. So 3x plus h square Oh no, not square. 3x plus h minus 5, x plus h. There's a lot of algebra involved, plus 1. So this is f of x plus h. Minus f of x, so that means just minus that function. 3x minus 5x squared plus 1, right? Keep track of everything. Oh, out of space here. And then over h. Okay, so just doing the, so we have 3x plus 3h minus 5, do the square first, x squared plus 2xh plus x squared plus 1 minus 3x. Okay, distribute this minus, right? Plus 5x squared. Distribute this minus 1 to this, with a plus mark. And distribute the plus 1 become minus 1. You will see that, oh, and then all of this has to be divided by h. You'll see that plus 1 minus 1 cancel. The 5x squared and this 5x squared cancel, right? What else is cancel? I have a 3x and this 3x cancel. There's a lot of combined like term. So the leftover would be 3h. Anything that is related to h minus 2 times 5 tan xh, and then what? Minus 5x squared over h. Okay, so we are going to do a limit of this. H approaches 0. You plug it in, it's 0 over 0, so we have factor. So we have to factor. The factor is very easy. It's always factoring the h out. 3 minus tan x minus 5h, right? And then divided by h. But the h and h cancel, so we can do direct substitution. Substitute h equal to 0. That's equal to 3 minus tan x. Do you see that it is a function? Your x is still here because your a is not a number. It is not a, it is a number. So this is f prime of x. That's very good. If I don't need to do any more limit anymore. If I want f prime of 1, I just plug it in. If I want f prime of 2, I just plug it in. I don't have to do the process over here. Every single time I have a new a, I'll do it like that. So this is a new function. Let's try another one. F of x is equal to square root of x minus 1. I want to do f prime. So use the definition of limit. I have to always do h equal to 0. F of x plus h minus f of x. So you just need to remember this is the limit definition. So plug it in, it become limit h approach 0. Plug in x plus h on here, be x plus h minus 1. And this is f of x minus square root of x minus 1 over h. Okay, so so this is something that we can do the limit, plug it in, 0, 0, but that would be 0 over 0, right? So we have to do some factoring. Do you see that it is a radical? If it's a radical, we can rationalize it, right? Rationalize it by multiplying conjugate. So it becomes x plus h minus 1 minus square root of x minus 1. What's the conjugate of this? It's just the same thing, x plus h minus 1, but plus square root of x minus 1 divided by h. But then you have to have the same thing, x plus h minus 1 plus square root of x minus 1 is a lot of radical. The top multiply become what? Just x plus h minus 1 subtract x minus 1. So all these would cancel, x and x cancel, 1 and 1 cancel, right? 1 and 1 cancel, x and x cancel. They only have h left over. And the bottom would be h, square root of x plus h minus 1 plus square root of x minus 1. So you can see that we finally find the common factor. We cancel it. It's 1 over. Nothing is left over in the top. Is it a negative h? Yeah, it's a positive h. So, and then we would have these two radical add together, x plus h minus 1 plus square root of x minus 1. Well, we're still to do the limit, right? It is still the limit. H approaches 0. So now we are ready to do plug in 0 here. It is 1 over x minus 1 plus another x minus 1. So simplify is 1 over 2 times square root of x minus 1. Run out of space. So this is the derivative of f prime of x. So we say f prime of x is equal to 1 over 2 square root of x minus 1. This is a derivative function. So if you want to find the slope of the tangent line for the original function, you plug it in, it would tell you the slope of the tangent line. So the C part is function f of t equal to 2 over t. We want to find f prime of t. So see if I can finish this. So f prime of t. It is t's, but you do the same thing. You would do a limit h approach 0. F of t plus h minus f of t over h, right? So that would equal to, what is my function? Is t over 2 over t. So we'll just do t over t plus h minus 2 over t over h. So there's two variables, t and h, but we have to do the limit h approaches 0. So remember this is complex fraction, so we'll do the common denominator. So 2t minus 2t plus h. The common denominator is t times t plus h over h. And if you simplify the top, oh, there's not enough space here. You simplify the top, sorry, just make some space here. You simplify the top, so we will have 2t minus 2t minus 2h over t plus h and all over h. This this is 2t. So the 2t and this 2t cancel. I only have negative 2h left over. So b, and then we would just multiply it outside up as like this times 1 over h. So this h and this h cancel. So we have negative 2 over t plus h. Well, we still need to do the limit. We haven't done the limit. This is just factor and cancel. Now we're ready to do the limit. Negative 2, when you plug in h equal to 0, negative 2 t squared. So this is a derivative function of this. So we say, let me put it here, f prime of t for that function is negative 2 over t squared. If I want to do tangent line slope, f prime of 1, I'll put it in at negative 2 over 1. If I want to do tangent line of slope for this function at 3, then I need to do negative 2 over 3 squared. This is more easy to find slope of tangent line because you actually have a function on hand. Okay. Oh, I have actually more space here.